In the last chapter, we talked about completing the square, and we used completing the square to solve equations. Another thing that completing the square can be used to do is to write the equation of a circle. So that's what we're doing in example 15. We want to write the equation of a circle in standard form that's given by x squared plus y squared minus 4x minus 2y minus 4 equals 0. That seems like a mess right now, but it's really not that bad if you understand complete the square. If you're kind of shaky about complete the square, you don't remember, I suggest you go back to the last chapter's videos and rewatch those right now before you go any farther. Because you're going to need to know how to do that to be able to understand what I'm doing here. Okay, so go ahead and stop this video, come back. We'll be here waiting for you. If you are ready to move forward, the very first thing you need to do is your regular numbers with no variables, they've got to be on the other side. So on your left side of the equation, that's where the variables live. On the right-hand side of the equation, that's where the constants live. So I'm going to rewrite my equation. Also, I want to switch the order of these things to get my x's together, get my y's together. So I have x squared minus 4x plus y squared minus 2y equals positive 4. To get positive 4, I did take minus 4 and add it to both sides. Okay, I didn't show that step, but you should be able to handle that no problem. Now what I'm going to do is complete the square twice. The reason why I'm doing it twice is because I have two different variables. I'm going to do it first time for x's, and then I'm going to do it again for the y's. So I'm going to kind of color code my stuff. I'm going to do the x's in blue. Alright, so if you don't have colors, I suggest you organize your scratch work, say something like 4x. That way you know what scratch work goes for what pieces. And so we have x squared minus 4x. Well, if you remember, complete the square, we want to match this piece up with x squared plus bx. As soon as we do that, we can figure out that b is negative 4. The next step in the complete square process was to divide by 2, so b divided by 2. In this case, we're saying negative 4 divided by 2, which comes up being negative 2. I'm going to put a star next to this one because this is going to be super important in just a minute. And then our next step is we take what we got here, in this case negative 2, and we square it. So we have negative 2 squared, which is positive 4. This number that we found, once we squared it, we have to add to both sides of our equation. You've got to do this. And that must be to both sides. What you do to one side, you do to the other side. Okay? So now in blue, I have a perfect square trinomial. And if you remember complete the square, once we have a perfect square trinomial, we can rewrite that perfect square trinomial as the square of a binomial. And we use the factoring pattern x plus b divided by 2 quantity squared. That's the rule we're going to use, and that's why I put a star next to this step, because b divided by 2 is the number I need. So for this problem, my perfect square trinomial can be rewritten as x minus 2 quantity squared. All I did is take my b divided by 2, which was negative 2, and plug it in. So I have x minus 2 quantity squared plus something. I haven't done that something yet. That's my y, so I'm about to do that now, and I'm going to do that in green. Okay, so again, some scratch work here for y. I'm going to start off with what I have, y squared minus 2y, and I want to match that up with my complete the square rule. So y squared plus by. What I want to do, my very first step, is to figure out what b is. So b is negative 2. Then I need to take that number and divide it by 2. So for this problem, I have negative 2 divided by 2, which is negative 1. I'm going to put a star next to that step because it's going to help me out in just a minute. As soon as I figure what b divided by 2 is, in this case it was negative 1, I now need to square that number. So for this problem, I'm taking negative 1 and squaring it, which is going to be a positive 1. This number, positive 1, I have to add to both sides of my equation to balance everything out. Okay, kind of running out of room, but that's all right. Now that I've added that number to both sides, I've created a perfect square trinomial that can be factored using the factoring pattern. Y plus b divided by 2 quantity squared. I know what my b divided by 2 was. It's negative 1. So for this problem, my perfect square trinomial that I just made can be rewritten as y minus 1 quantity squared. And so that's what I'm going to replace it with. Okay, and that's equal to, now all this stuff on the side, so 4 plus 4 plus 1 is 9. Okay, well good. I'm actually finished because we were told to write the equation of a circle, and the equation of a circle, the rule is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Alright, now, obviously this matches up very closely with this, because here my h is positive 2, my k is positive 1, and my r squared is 9, which means my radius is 3. So I have created the equation of a circle whose center is at 2, 1, and has a radius of 3. And so this is my answer. And that's how complete the square can be done, can be used to write the equation of a circle. It's a lot of scratch work, but if you understand completing the square, it's easy scratch work. It's just a lot of it, so don't be lazy. Don't let the amount of scratch work scare you. And that's it for this video.